Okay, let's talk a bit about smart grid. We don't have tons of time. We got to wrap up in about 15 minutes. But I'm glad you're asking questions during. You may have some after too. So smart grid, there's only one city in the US that's deployed this top to bottom, and that's a town I used to live in, Boulder, Colorado. And the reason why it works there is because it's pretty much an island in terms of its geographic location. There's a big green belt around it. And it's got one power system, one power plant. It's got a population that's completely willing to try something new like this. Because the problem with the smart grid is you can't just have a little part of the grid be smart. For instance, if you tried to deploy it here, where's the border? If it's one power company, do you end it in Costa Mesa? Do you go to Fountain Valley? Do you go to Huntington Beach? It's a little, you can't make it totally smart unless the whole thing's done, really. But it can be deployed in phases, so you could install smart meters first, possibly, at the housing. But basically what a smart grid is I would say the way you could define it is it's electricity delivery overlaid with an information delivery system. So it's like the internet and a power company, combined all in one. So the power company from a main console can actually predict where outages are going to be. So they can go fix them before they go out. If someone calls and says, hey, I'm not getting any power to my house, they'll know whether or not it's something inside of the house or something with their grid right away. And so they don't have to send a big truck out to work on a pole when that's not the problem. So it's evidently, from what I've read in Boulder, it's saving a lot of money, because the power company can be proactive monitoring their grid. The customers like it because they get feedback on their use. Instead of just getting a bill at the end of the month, which is way after that time when you could have flipped on or off your lights, they get continuous feedback. And I believe there's day of use costing, because we talked a little bit about that, how we haven't talked totally about it, but generally about, we've got 70% overcapacity of electricity at night. And so when you talk about bringing a bunch of, say, electric vehicles online, it's really easy to do charging them at night, and the electric company might give you a lower rate. But then they may want to draw a little bit of that power if you've got some extra juice in your batteries in the afternoon to pull off for peaking times if there's a hot day or a lot of industrial use, for instance, then they can pull it off. That's why I think the car is going to be a big part of this smart grid, because it's got all kinds of new storage capacity that can be then used as a utility for transportation as well. So battery, and the really cool thing is power companies are really into doing plug-in hybrid or plug-in electric cars too. I was just reading where FPL and Duke are committing $600 million to a plug-in program, because they want the demand, right? They want to sell more. They got 70% overcapacity at night. They want to sell their juice. So that's a really key part of this. And this whole thing works better if you have a smart grid overlaid to it, because the demands, the grid's going to be a more dynamic marketplace, a more dynamic infrastructure is needed to handle what's going to happen to it. So this is a huge trend. And unfortunately, there are not a lot of companies to invest in it, but you need to be really aware of what's going on. And if you sign up for our newsletter, we'll kind of let you know as things progress with the smart grid what's going to happen. Here's a company making smart meters, Itron. I think they're a pretty good long-term investment. They're starting to win contracts now. And, if you're a technical chartist, you'd say that's pretty broken, but I think they're a good player in this market. Echelon's a little more. They're more on the monitoring side, moving electrons to the right places. They've really come far off bottom. Unfortunately, these guys don't make any money yet, but I think there's, again, a lot of expectation there. Well, you'd have to have a tight stop on this stock if you bought it right now. But a lot of these things you just got to keep on your watch list. It was funny when I was talking to AAII down up in San Francisco last November, when it was at $5, and I showed the chart. And I said, wow, this doesn't look good, but I think, I like this company. They don't make money yet, but There's someone worth to look at. Keep an eye on Echelon. They've got good open systems, information systems for the grid. Okay, here's Internoc. They're more on the commercial side. They help balance the grid out from an industrial standpoint. They've done extremely well. If you look at just the strength of their chart, sales were up 80% last quarter. So they're starting to get some good traction. And you'll see, I think a lot of these companies, they may just hit that point when things really start taking off, because we're just in the very, very, very early stages of smart grid.